could end very badly for them. So hopefully they can get their heads out of their asses because they need to get they just need to get back into the Joe Burrow, we're counting on you, bro. Like you're the guy. You're the giant slayer. We counted on Lamar last year and he fumbled the ball and now that's the scary part. Lamar, the other quarterback, he didn't look that great against the Chiefs. So it's like, are we really just destined to watch the Chiefs hoist that Lombardi trophy for the third time in a row? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it. I might have an aneurysm. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beard Zone Sports Talk, where the takes are almost as bold as the beards. I got Carlos with me tonight. We're going to be doing this thing, the dynamic duo tonight. Scooter is traveling currently right now, but Carlos, we have a ton of games to get into. We have a lot of stuff that was surprising over this last weekend. We're definitely going to get into all of the teams that were a disappointment, that were a big surprise, and kind of what we saw from the rookie quarterbacks this week. But before we get into all of that, go ahead and do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That is the best way to continue to support us as we grow this NFL season. Carlos, we had football this Sunday, and I think the best thing about Sunday night or Sunday was the Sunday night countdown, and when Carrie Underwood came out and sung the theme song for the first time this year. That's when football's back. It just felt so good to have football on all day.
It solidifies it. It was like the old Hank Williams thing, and
yeah,
she solidifies it. It's back.
It is. It is back indeed. So, but let's get into some of these games. I'm definitely excited to dive into some of them. I want to start off with, I feel like it was a great game. And it did showcase a rookie quarterback. And that was the Chicago Bears and Tennessee Titans. Caleb Williams 1-0 as a starter. Don't know how much you can attribute that win to him. That defense and the special teams definitely pulled him out of the of the hole there, because they were down 17-0 at halftime. But what did you gather from this game?
I actually thought he would do better, but in hindsight, it makes sense that, he's seeing things that preseason so much different, because nothing is the speed that you're going to see during the regular season. You see vanilla defenses. It's really just the speed. He's never seen. There was one time where he rolled out, and probably something he got away with during the preseason with Caleb and at USC, but man, that big defensive tackle tracked him down. So, I mean, it's good. He came out. Technically, he's 1-0 as a quarterback, or he is 1-0, but the defense did pull him out, which is good. I mean, I didn't see some of that coming. Was there even an offensive touchdown scored in that game?
There wasn't.
It's really weird.
Touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah, really weird that happened. So he, I thought it'd be a little bit better, but in hindsight, hey, welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, definitely welcome to the NFL moment. To say one thing positive about Caleb Williams, I know if Scooter was here, he would be having an absolute field day. So I'll have him save that for next week when he is back with us, because, maybe we'll see the same outcome. I don't know. But, I mean, Caleb Williams, let's just break it down for you really quick. He was 14 of 29 for 93 yards. Obviously, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, though, so he did, at least protect the ball. But he was something that I didn't see from him. He didn't look like he ever got panicked. Like, he was never in this super anxious panic mode where, he started forcing throws. He started making, he wasn't creating turnovers. He kind of stayed even keeled the entire game. And that's going to be something that is going to benefit this young dude moving forward. But let's flip it on to the other side. How are you the Tennessee Titans and you allow not one single touchdown on the defensive side of the ball, but yet you still lose the game? Like, as a defense, what do you like? How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's tough because, like you mentioned, Caleb, at least he protected the ball, and then Levis throws that pick six to Stevenson, Miami Hurricane there. So I was a little happy about that.
No, no.
And it just Levis didn't protect the ball, so they just didn't do a good job of it. But it's very odd that you see a game that high of a score with no offensive touchdowns. Like, you just don't see that very often.
No, you really don't. But again, hey, it's a team effort, it's a team sport. The team definitely rallied around and helped the offense out where they needed help out. Something as a highlight, as a positive note for the Tennessee Titans, Tony Pollard didn't look too bad yesterday, averaged just over 5 yards a carry. Fantasy owners, if he's on the waiver wire, he might have sneaked onto the waiver wire in some of the fantasy leagues that are out there. He might be a guy that, you could pick up. I know a lot of people kind of lost hope in him after last year and the lack of production when he was finally the number one guy. And he just didn't make it happen. But maybe now in Tennessee, he has kind of a rekindle with his productivity. Let's move on to another game that I was kind of really surprised at. I thought that we were going to get more out of both teams, to be honest with you. I wasn't really too blown away by either team, and that's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Pittsburgh Steelers, talking about no offensive touchdowns. They didn't score any. Boswell, player of the game. The guy hit. Yeah, I mean, the guy scored. What is that? Is that 6 field goals?
6 field goals, yeah. He had himself if he's on your fantasy team, you enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh, was he on yours?
No, I wish.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you didn't go up against him.
No.
But, I mean, Justin Fields gets a start yesterday. It was kind of a weird thing. We all were expecting Russell Wilson, and then I guess there was a lingering injury. And something that I heard on the Pat McAfee show today, which, I mean, makes a lot of sense, is that, he was supposed to be a game-time decision, but when he was out there in the pregame warm-ups, there was no medical team around him. And a lot of the times, if they're a game-time decision, they're out there and they're kind of evaluating him to see if he can play. But because his medical team wasn't around him, it kind of already appeared that it was decided well before the game. But Justin Fields gets his start yesterday. 17 of 23, 156, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, but then on the flip side, you look at the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, 16 for 26, 155 yards, two interceptions, only 1 touchdown. But it was to Kyle Pitts. Fantasy owners rejoice.
He's back for week 1.
Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown in week 1. So, but
it's funny with it's a boring. It was kind of a boring. It's defensive game because Pittsburgh's defense really stepped up.
Yeah.
But, man, did Justin Fields just picked up where he left off? He stinks. Like, he's just not good. And if you're a Pittsburgh fan, man, you better hope Wilson is healed up and stays healthy because that defense is you're not going to be able to win kicking field goals in the NFL that much. Like, they just happen to catch Atlanta at the right time. First game, Cousins coming off the injury. There has to be a little bit of mental aspect of him, testing it out. So, man, I heard the great quote. It was the most Russell Wilson thing ever for Russell Wilson to be ruled out, show up to the game, dressed in full uniform, knowing that he's not going into the game. The most Russell Wilson thing that could ever happen. So
that's so true. I mean, we saw him walk through an entire game in pre-warm-ups 1 year. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. But let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. They're a new team right this year. They got a whole new coaching regimen with Raheem Morris and the people that he brought in. They paid Kirk Cousins this offseason to, be their quarterback for the next several years. They have a lot of young talent. They have Drake London. They have Bijan Robinson. They have Kyle Pitts. They have a very good offensive line. They have, on the defensive side of the ball, they got good talent, veteran talent on the defensive side of the ball. And the defense didn't look too bad. I mean, obviously, they kept the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the end zone. So, great for them. But the Falcons offense, I feel like that, and as a Bucks fan, I don't want to say this, but just give it some time. I feel like I don't
Yeah.
think that this is going to be a normal thing for them. I do think that they're just give them some time to kind of gel a little together. That Pittsburgh Steelers defense was really good
That's
yesterday,
good.
so I mean, it's going to be hard to be productive against that defense, especially when you're still trying to build chemistry. But do you think that Kirk Cousins? I mean, this is just kind of the floor for him this year.
Yeah, I don't foresee this being an issue. The thing is, they didn't get Drake London involved. He only had a couple catches for like 15 yards. He wasn't targeted a whole bunch. Ray McLeod was their main guy with Kyle Pitts, but with Ray McLeod is leading your team in receiving, and you have a Drake London, then that's an issue. And then of course Bijan doing Bijan things, but I mean Bijan didn't have a bad game. He ran the ball almost 4 yards a carry against that defense. I think it's just their opening game. It sucks that you open up against the one of the best defenses in the league, but
Yeah.
I feel like they'll rebound and they'll be there they're going to win some games.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think that they're going to win some games this year. But speaking of, let's go ahead and let's stay in the NFC South because as a Tampa fan, I am thrilled about what I
I
saw
bet.
yesterday. Everything was working good. We had great defensive game. Um, wish we would have put a quarterback spy on Jaden Daniels a little bit earlier because I think that would have helped us out a little bit. But as far as the offense, the biggest question mark and the thing that they kept talking about all game long was the production of the run game. Now, the run game still wasn't where we want it to be for sure. But I will say this that offense moved down the field very easily. Now I know it's against Washington, but they're another team that brought in a lot of veteran players. They have defensive talent. That defensive line is ridiculous. I mean, so that's kind of where I have devil's advocate, where it's just like, okay, well, we probably went one up against one of the better defensive lines. So
Yeah.
let's see what our running game does, for the remainder of the year. But Baker Mayfield, man, 24 of 30, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, and the big stat is 0 interceptions. He protected the ball, he moved the team down the field, and they just look like a team that are ready to win a lot of games this year.
Yeah, man, it's hard to hate on Baker. How many times he's about to get sacked and he just spins out of it and then he makes a play. They running the ball, that it was a very good defensive line. Linebackers are okay. Wagner's just getting old. But that secondary for Washington, it's one of the worst. So they did what they were supposed to do, is throw the ball against them. And then honestly, the Daniels debut probably went, I mean, they ran the ball pretty decent. I mean, the Bucks defense played pretty well, especially against a scrambler. But you can live with. It's not like Daniels is going to run for 200 yards and some touchdowns. So
No.
the only mental mistake I really saw in the Bucks defense is when Daniels scored number 92. You might know his crash down on the running back, and he basically made a high school rookie mistake, and he's the end. You don't crash down. So allow
Yeah.
Daniels to score easily. So, but Bucks look great. I mean, I don't really can't say anything bad about them. They got the Lions next week, so that'll definitely be a test of overall defense for them.
Yeah.
So, but they look good, man. Baker looked good. They were feeling it. You could definitely tell they were feeling it. Yes. So they look
Yeah,
good.
they were clicking on all cylinders, and the biggest thing for me is that we moved the ball. I mean, I know that there was like we scored on every drive, and there at one point it was like 3 field goals and a touchdown, which is not the odds that you want. But then we evened it up, and we ended up scoring 3 touchdowns. We ended up kicking 3 or 4 field goals as well yesterday. But the offense looked very smooth. Again, it is against the Washington Commanders. We don't know exactly what that team is going to be. They do have a great defensive line, but other than that, we have to see. Detroit next week in Detroit, going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be a tough game. It's a playoff rematch against for the divisional round last year. We know how that ended. We had a chance to win at the end of the game, and before the drive even started, Baker Mayfield threw that interception. So No interceptions for Baker last year. I liked what I saw from Jaden Daniels yesterday. And equipment team. Hey, get the guy a helmet that fits. Because
That's
every time
him. That's a him thing.
every time he ran the ball, like, holy crap, this guy, I was
Wow.
like, football. Oh, wait, that's his helmet. Never mind.
The thing that kind of disappointed me the most with Daniels, I thought we would see more of his arm, and I thought that would be better, and he just did not look comfortable throwing the ball. There were times where Eckler, I saw a couple times for the check down, is just sitting there, and nobody's within 10 yards of the guy, and he took off running, and you could just literally one play Eckler just threw his hands up and was like, "Hey, what the you know." That running overtime is going to get old when he takes a couple big shots, especially if you can't keep that helmet on. But
Well,
I
he
was a
looked
little
awkward
disappointed.
sliding.
Yeah, he doesn't slide real well, but
No.
I was hoping to see more of that testing it deep. But the Bucks have their strongest part of the secondary is the two safeties, and they're not going to probably let that happen, even though Winfield missed a tackle there on the goal line.
Yeah, I did see
He
that.
did. He didn't like that very much. But I
No,
was a
he
little. I was disappointed that they. I thought I would see more out of his arm and deep shots, and didn't see that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get more into kind of the rookie breakdowns for the quarterbacks here a little bit later this episode. So we're not quite done talking about Jane Daniels, but I do agree with you. I was expecting. I, I don't know. We'll get into it a little bit later. But let's move on to a game. Let's we stayed in the NFC South. Now let's just go ahead and let's stay in Florida, and that is the Miami Dolphins against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It this was just an. I feel like it was kind of an ugly game all around. Like I would take the win if I'm a Miami fan, but gosh, don't play like that every week.
It was ugly from the minute Tyreek showed up to the stadium in handcuffs.
So true.
So it was a very odd start. Jacksonville's not a. It's a good defensive team. They've got players on the line, linebacker, and back end that they got some over the offseason. So it is a good defensive team. It just took a minute for Miami to kind of figure it out and their identity. So, but I mean, they at halftime they didn't have really like 140 yards, and then into the game too was at 388. The running game's doing its thing, so it just took time. But luckily, the defense was struggling, and then it stepped up on there. There's a play, and I know most people hate on Ramsey, where NTN's running out to if he needs basically gets the first down and really is bleak for the Dolphins, and he seals the end. NTN turns around, he runs back to the other side of the field and finally gets him. I just thought, man, that was a defensive play that's definitely going to get overlooked. But the Jags didn't look bad either, man. NTN ran the ball really well. Trevor, would have been nice that he got spread the ball around a little bit and got it to the tight end, but Dolphins must have been doing something good there to cover that up because Ingram did not. I mean, one catch for 5 yards is, not good, especially if you're a fantasy owner.
No, not good at all. And you said something about the run game. I don't think that the run game was where we thought the run game was going to be in Miami. I mean, a chain. He ran the ball 10 times, only got 24 yards. Jeff Wilson got some garbage time yards there at the end. He was the most productive. I mean, he only ran the ball 5 times and got 26 yards. So he got 2 more yards than a chain. And then, Raheem Mostert, six attempts for 9 yards. It's just like, this is not what we want for a running game. And for a backfield that has that much speed and that many weapons, I feel like that we should have seen more. But shout out to the Jacksonville's defense. They definitely are, going to be they're going to be tough to run on. And we saw that yesterday. But one thing that I wanted to see yesterday, which I know he didn't have crazy stat lines, but he did get a sack. And Jalen Phillips, man, he looks good.
Man, I was impressed on this guy.
Yeah.
Like every time he was in the game, I was holding my breath. Like, is this thing going to hold up with that Achilles? Because he's come back quite early, and man, that big sack at the end couldn't have been the guy needed it. I mean, but he didn't hold back. This guy's got a motor, and he gets after it. And he's already said coming into the season, he's not worrying about that Achilles. Whatever happens, happens. But that big sack at the end there. And he had a good game. He's just going to keep getting more and more playing time because he was on a snap count. But Man, he looked good. I was impressed.
He did look good. Another player that I was impressed on the other side of the ball with the Jacksonville Jaguars was Bigsby. Guy, 12 carries, 73 yards, over 6 carries, or over 6 yards per carry. No touchdowns, but I don't know, man. He might be a guy that I try and target, maybe on the waiver wire, in fantasy, because they seem to really like him there. He
Yeah.
split evenly with Travis Etienne.
He's got a good burst. Old Tank there. He gets moving when he's moving. So yeah, I mean he had a good day, better than NTN when it comes to the carrying the ball. But it was and then the Jacksonville didn't look bad. It's just Miami's defense is it's good. Like it's probably not going to get some of the credit it deserves, but it is good. So they're it was a good game. It was good win for Miami. Test them for sure. So it definitely sets them up good for the Bills this Thursday.
Yeah, short week for them. But we're not necessarily gonna dive into all the games here just simply for time costs. But there was a few teams this weekend that definitely impressed both me and Carlos. Not to say that that's worth any value, but they was they definitely impressed us. And then there were also a couple of teams that we were like, "Whoa, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
why?" So, and I know that everyone's going to have their own opinion, but let's start off on the positive note here, Carlos. What team this weekend surprised you and you were like, "Hey, all right, I like what I saw from this team"?
Mine is I kind of bounce back and forth a little bit, but I think mine is the Chargers, man. It looked like a Jim Harbaugh coach team.
Yes, it
Like
did.
they were tough, they played well, they didn't make mistakes. Not a lot of glitz and glamour from Justin Herbert, but man, is J.K. Dobbins back for how long? We don't know. This guy, 13 yards to carry,
Yo,
is insane, man.
against that defensive line too.
Yes, with Crosby, Wilkins, man, it's that guy. As a football fan, I want him to stay healthy now, especially now that he's in a different conference than Miami.
Right.
Um, but man, he gets it. It's just can he stay healthy, man? 10 carries for 135 yards, a couple catches in there. But man, they look like a Jim Harbaugh team. They're gonna win in the trenches, and we're just gonna keep punching each other in the mouth and see who can take the best shots. And man, they did, man. They were I wouldn't say so much impressive as just they were good.
They
That
were
run
good.
they're strong.
They were hard nosed. They were gritty, and they even threw punches down there in the end zone. And I absolutely love it. And then next thing I know, man, Jim Harbaugh's down there in the mix. I'm like, Jim,
Hey,
what
he
are you?
will get in there.
He was getting in there. He was ready. He was just like, I'm gonna get my guys, but if anyone throws, I'm ready. So I was I was ready to have a Jim Harbaugh throwdown. But you're right, man. I mean, it wasn't flashy by any means, but I think that this is exactly what Justin Herbert needs. He doesn't need all the pressure on him. And man, gosh, dude, J.K. Dobbins, dude, I want him to be good so bad. I think a lot of us have wanted him to. Now, granted, if you ask a Ravens fan, they probably hope he, never plays another down.
And
But
he's primed for a big week next week too. They got the Carolina Panthers, and Carolina's best defensive players I think's out for the year with
out,
Brown.
out.
So this guy, man, I'm telling you, if he's on your fantasy team, he has to go straight into the starting lineup. So
And how many waiver wires has he been on?
I didn't
Probably a
pick him
few.
because I didn't think he would make it, but while he's healthy, he's gonna eat, and next week he's definitely going to eat.
Yeah, he's definitely going to eat. On the flip side, though, yeah, Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback threw a touchdown, threugh an interception, just over 250 yards north. Pretty mediocre. Pretty mediocre day for him. He definitely likes to, Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers definitely got his fair share of targets and receptions there. I believe Brock Bowers led the team in receptions with 6. And then Jacoby Myers, he had a good, couple of big plays for them. I don't think that this is the end of the Raiders. I don't think that this is, the Raiders are going to suck this year. But it is a glaring need that they are going to need a quarterback. So if they start losing, consistently here, yeah, I mean maybe they start looking at next year as far as the draft, and we'll see what happens. But definitely a big need. Not to say anything bad against Gardner Minshew, but
he's a perennial backup, man. I
yeah,
think they screwed the pooch, and they should have took Penix or Bo Nix or somebody.
they
I think I mean, Bowers will be good for them, but they have a good tight end in Michael Mayer. He's good. You would have been better off, even if you draft Penix, bring in Minshew as like the Ryan Fitzpatrick Tua thing. It would have been better off for them in the long run. I mean, the Raiders need if there's a franchise out there that needs a run like the Lions, it's the Raiders, man. They're like dying for something, a winning season. Just something. Give them something. But yeah, I think they made a mistake there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that they know that. I don't think that they go, "Oh, Gardner's our guy long term." I even think he knows that, right? I mean, he's there for a good time, not a long time. So, I mean, that's just how it is. I want to go to a team though that was definitely impressive to me because there for a minute I thought that they might win this game, and that was the Arizona Cardinals. The freaking Arizona Cardinals went into Buffalo and they played a game and they competed with the Buffalo Bills yesterday. They ended up losing the game 34-28. So no, it wasn't the outcome that, they were hoping for. But Kyle Murray, 162 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He also ran for 57 yards. So you can kind of see that burst coming back. James Conner was the workhorse, as we all thought that he was going to be, and then the defense, man. The defense played actually pretty well. I mean, what are you going to do, man? Josh Allen is just Josh Allen. I don't know. This, for so long, I was a hater of Josh Allen, and now it's like, you just can't. The guy just wills his team to win, and he's just like, okay, I'll do it myself. Don't worry about it. I'll just do it.
Hold my
Just
beer. I'll be right
yeah,
back.
exactly. All right, no worries, guys. I got this. So, but I mean, um, shout out to the Bills for not losing their home opener against the Arizona Cardinals because that would have been a shocking.
No,
But Josh Allen, 16 of 23, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air and on the ground. So again, willed his team to win. But with the Arizona Cardinals, how impressed were you with them yesterday, Carlos?
I I was like I didn't feel like they would be really competitive in this game, and their defense helping out. Looks like Kyle Murray could be the old Kyle Murray that's back. He's moving around, doing some stuff. Man, I would have thought they would have lost by double digits for sure, but man, they hung in there and they were right there. They could have won this game, and I would have been so happy. The Bills start off 0-1, so
Yeah,
yeah,
as
they
a
they,
Miami
they were
fan,
they were impressive. Like they moved the ball around. Kyle did his thing. Trey Benson came in, showed a little bit. James Conner just does his thing every year. It doesn't matter. Everybody
Mr.
writes him off.
Consistent.
But they a little disappointed. Marvin Harrison, 1 catch for 4 yards. I would have never guessed that. Yeah, I just if somebody would have told me that he was just going to have 4 yards, I'd have bet my house on it that he was going to have more than 4 yards.
No
So,
joke.
but he's a rookie, so we'll see. Greg Dordich, I wouldn't have thought he would have led the team in receiving either, but it's good tied in. But yeah, I mean, it was impressive for them to hang in there. Too bad they couldn't finish the deal.
It was impressive for them to hang in there, and I think you're right. I think Kyle Murray might be back to his old self. So that's always fun to see. That's always going to be an exciting team to watch. So, and don't worry, Marvin Harrison Jr. He'll get his catches.
All those fantasy
Hopefully,
guys that drafted him in the second round were like,
hopefully he'll get his
oof.
catches. On the other side of the ball, though, Keon Coleman, 4 catches, 51 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah,
But hey, still, he looked like a guy who Josh Allen is going to be wanting to build
yeah.
that that chemistry with, and he's going to be targeting a lot.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's only up from here for all the rookies, right? Your first game is out of the way. You can't really do too much to, change anything. You can just look forward. So there's always next week. But now let's go to more of the negative side of things. Carlos, there were a couple of teams out there where we were like, all right, so what's happening? So what team disappointed you the most?
Oh man, there's a couple of them out there, but jeez, I go back between two. It's the Browns and the Panthers. I'm going to go with the Browns because the Panthers we knew weren't going to be a good football team. The Browns have a great defense. They've always ran the ball very well. They have Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, sorry, and they didn't do anything. Deshaun Watson I think he's done. I don't foresee any hope. The Browns' best bet is somehow go get Flacco back, where trade for him, something. But I don't foresee Deshaun Watson ever being Deshaun Watson again. Like he just, I think his players don't buy into him. There was the one where he's trying to help a lineman up, and the lineman was like, "No," and got up on his own. That to me says a
That's
lot.
not good.
No, it's not good, and he doesn't have his team buy in. He looks just like he just looks like he doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't want to be there, which is terrible because the guy had so much talent. But I think he's just done. I think the Browns, maybe if he doesn't turn around in a couple weeks, you can't have a defense like they have and waste it. And that's what's going to happen. They didn't play terribly against Dallas. They just were put in bad positions because the offense was so bad. But, man, they just were not good. And if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you're definitely screaming. Problem is, are you screaming for Jameis Winston to go in? That's the issue. And at this point, I mean, I give them another week. They got the Jags next week, which doesn't help them any. I feel like that's going to be another loss. It's in Jacksonville. They got to deal with the heat. It's just a hot mess, to say the least. Like, it's not good. Not good for them.
Yeah. Gosh, man. I mean, now Deshaun Watson has more accusations out. I don't know if you saw that, but
oh man,
another
money.
Another sexual assault. This one it really might not be. And apparently, though, the Browns are in a situation where if something like this happens, there's something written in the contract where they can go, we're done.
Do it. If you have that opportunity, do it. Get your money back.
Yeah.
Let him go play in the CFL or maybe somewhere else. I don't know, but good Lord,
How angry are you as a Browns fan watching Baker Mayfield in Tampa right now?
It's super angry because he would have played well up there. He had Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper. He would have played well up there.
Yep.
Man, what a mistake. And you get him for cheaper than what you're paying the guy there to be terrible. Like, yeah. Thank God for bad GM decisions for the Bucks.
Hindsight is always 20/20. But I mean, to give Deshaun Watson a little bit of credit, I mean, it doesn't help when you were sacked 6 times, and I don't know how many pressures they got on that guy. It had to be in the double digits. I mean, easily. It felt like every single play they were making, and they had an impact on his play. But on the flip side, man, I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you, with Dak Prescott because I had him as a fantasy quarterback. In one league I had Josh Allen, and I'm just as happy as can be. And then in another league I have Dak Prescott, and I'm thinking that it's going to be awesome. And then he puts up $179 for a touchdown, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Shout out to Ezekiel Elliott though for getting a touchdown. Man, that guy's all the way back, right?
Yeah, and their defense is pretty solid. So
that defense,
I had CD Lamb too.
That defense is ridiculous, and I'm blanking Zimmerman, right?
Yeah.
That defense that defense is gonna be a problem this year. It's gonna be a problem this year. Oh, Carlos, congratulations, Dak Prescott, for resetting the
Oh, that's right.
freaking market.
Jeez.
What? I mean, 60 million a year. The bar has been set, and then he goes out and he puts up 11 points in fantasy football. I love it. I love the NFL.
What's that? What's that equal to per million? 1 point equals
right, exactly.
4 million, something like that. I think it's a crazy contract, but you know it. And I hear people, I get the playoff stuff, but when you have a quarterback that can put up numbers and is capable in the NFL, I mean, he could be Deshaun Watson, Bryce Young, Will Levis. Like, there's a lot of teams that wish that they had him. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, you pay him. It sucks for the Cowboys season ticket holders because their prices just went up, and single ticket, and the price of beer just went up $2 a can. But, you know, they'll get them paid. But you know what? For a Super Bowl, you'll pay that money.
You will pay that money for a Super Bowl, especially if you're a Dallas Cowboy and Jerry Jones. So hopefully they get it. They get all their guys back with CeeDee Lamb. Now the big question mark is going to be Micah Parsons. And after yesterday's play, you do not let Micah Parsons walk.
They're not re-signing that guy. There's no way he's going to be the highest paid at his position. Like, you got, I mean, you already have over 90 million invested in your wide receiver and quarterback, and then you're going to throw another 28. I mean, Hassan Reddick is holding out, and he wants huge numbers, and I think he's better than Hassan Reddick. So yeah. I don't know what they're going to pay, but they got next season too to worry about it. He'll get his, so they don't have to worry about it this year. Next year, it's really the 2026 season. They really got to. He's signed through the end of next year.
Yeah, he is. It will be interesting, but I mean, if anybody can pay it, I feel like Jerry Jones could, right? So, I mean, you know, yeah. All right, so, but let's go ahead and let's move on. Okay, so my team, disappointment. I could go down the list of a couple of teams. I could. Actually, one team that I was looking at was the Raiders as a disappointment because I thought that maybe they would be a little bit more competitive than they were in that game yesterday. You know, I mean, the Panthers, they just suck. So we're good with that. The Giants, I don't know what was worse, their gameplay or their uniforms. So, but there was one team that lost yesterday where everyone in the football world went, ha! And that was the Cincinnati Bengals against the against the New England Patriots. What?
Yeah, that's about it. It's like, you're right, huh?
And
you looked at that score.
They looked really bad. Like, nothing about them, I was like, oh yeah, Bengals are back. Joe Burrow's healthy. Like, this team is just going to be rocking and rolling. First of all, if you have a running back in your fantasy league, which everyone does, just circle the date when they play the Cincinnati Bengals because apparently they can't stop the run at all. Ramondre Stevenson, 25 carries, 120 yards, a touchdown to throw on top of that. Jacoby Brissett didn't have any touchdowns, but he looked pretty comfortable back there. I mean, it's Jacoby Brissett. He's kind of like a Gardner Minshew, right? But I mean, what happened yesterday? I don't know. Like I said, there was nothing about. I'm truly at a loss for words because there was nothing about yesterday. Like I said, this is supposed to be the year. We're all counting on Joe Burrow. He's the only quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs that is currently active. The other one is Tom Brady. So there was nothing about this team, though, that screamed, oh, yeah, they're going to be a problem this year. I'm actually worried for the Cincinnati Bengals after what I saw yesterday.
Me too. I have a buddy who's a huge Bengals fan, and I had to text him like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, it's you know, I think it's a lot of off-season stuff for them. Jamar Chase holds out, and then okay, I'm going to play. T. Higgins is out for the game. And the Patriots still had a decent defense. I mean, they've got some good players, even losing Judon, but at least they still play solid defense. So they weren't a complete walkover, but they should have won this game. We were talking about the Bengals contending earlier in the year for the AFC North with the Ravens and all them. Like, this was a contending team, and it did not look like they couldn't do anything. I mean, Burrow was 21 of 29, but it was only for 160 yards. So they just it was not good for them. Not good for a Bengals fan. I think there's not much you can do but chalk it up as, hey, it's a loss. We're moving on, but let's not talk about it anymore. Then we'll move on to next week.
That's almost what you have to do. They didn't even score a single point in the first half.
Yeah, it's surprising. Even just with Jamar Chase, I know it's no T. Higgins, but you would think they would have been able to move the ball better, run it better. I feel like they didn't use Chase Brown enough. I like him over Zach Moss. I don't know if they really went to a game plan.
What's funny, though, is that if you look at the stats, right? If you look at the stats, 21 of 29, 164 for Joe Burrow. Zach Moss, 9 carries, 44 yards, just under 5 yards a carry, which is good for a running back. You would take that all day long, right? Jamar Chase, 6 catches for 62 yards. Fantastic. They got a couple of sacks on defense. But if you watch this game, there's a big question mark. There's a big question mark as to, okay, what is our identity and how are we going to look moving forward? Because what we saw yesterday or this past weekend is not what any of the Bengals fans want to see for the remainder of the year. But I think you're right. I think, hey, you just take it. Next week they got the Chiefs. I don't know how well they're going to do against that team.
Well,
I mean, if they play like that, it's going to be looking like, a Panthers Saints game, so, but
and they're an Arrowhead to top it off. They got to go to Arrowhead. It's not even a home game.
No,
this could end very badly for them.
It could end very badly for them. So hopefully they can get their heads out of their asses because they need to get. They just need to get back into the Joe Burrow. We're counting on you, bro. Like you're the guy. You're the giant slayer. We counted on Lamar last year, and he fumbled the ball, and now that's the scary part. Lamar, the other quarterback, he didn't look that great against the Chiefs. So it's like, are we really just destined to watch the Chiefs hoist that Lombardi trophy for the 3rd time in a row? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it. I might have an aneurysm.
Or become a Chiefs fan, one of the two.
You know what? If you can't beat them, join them.
Join them, 100%.
Might as well join them. So, but let's kind of finish this talk up really quickly. We had rookie debuts at that quarterback position. We kind of talked about them a little bit here and there, but let's kind of circle back. Caleb Williams didn't have the greatest day. I mean, really, none of them really had an outstanding day. But if you were to say, out of all the rookie quarterbacks that started yesterday, which one had the better day?
Man, that's a tough one because you're right. None of them had anywhere near a complete game at all. I mean, Caleb all around wasn't really good. Jaden ran the ball well, but his team got beat pretty bad. I understand he doesn't play defense, but still, he didn't look good. We talked a little bit earlier. I'm actually going to go with, and it's going to sound crazy, it's Bo Nix. Bo did have a couple turnovers, but his receivers dropped a lot of passes on him. If you go back and watch that footage, there were a lot of drop passes on him that stalled drives. He actually threw the ball where the ball was supposed to go, and he hit his receivers where he should have hit them. And they dropped a ton of passes on him. And he did run for a touchdown. He just looked like, you could tell he was the older of the group, but he's got some zip on the ball. He's putting the ball where it's supposed to. He just needs a little help from his dang receivers, man. Catch the ball. But it's a tough one because you're literally nobody had a week he looked good. So, I mean, he did turn the interceptions are a little bit not good, of course, but his team was there at the end. I mean, they didn't get blown out. They were surprisingly there, but man, it's a tough call. But I'm going to roll with Bo Nix just because the drop passes hurt him quite a bit.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. I wouldn't have thought Bo Nix just simply because he did have those 2 interceptions, and that's the key stat line for any quarterback. So I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with you on that. I don't know, man. I don't like those turnovers at all. It's like, do you give Caleb the win because his team got the win? I don't think so, because he didn't do anything. anything. So I think I did the math. And if he stays on this trajectory, right, for the rest of the year, which he's not going to.
No.
He's not going to. But if he does, he will end the year with about 1,500 yards. So that's the path right now that he's on. So
That's
again, he's not going to. But I also did the math where he was like, hey, how can we break this 4,000 yard curse in Chicago? And he's going to have to throw for, I think, like 277 yards each game on average to get to that 4,000 yard mark because of the 92 yard start.
It doesn't get easier for him because he's got the Texans coming up. But, I mean, Richardson did hit him with some bad deep throws, but Richardson's arm, holy crap. The guy's not a good quarterback still, but holy crap, can he fling a football a long way without stepping into it. He made one pass. I'm pretty sure he's on his back foot and threw that thing like 70 yards. I was like, holy mackerel. But at the end of the day, he's still not a good quarterback. 9-19 is not going to cut it in the NFL. So he's, but man, wow.
Well, I will 100% beg to differ and disagree with you on that. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be a fantastic quarterback. I loved everything about him yesterday. I know that they didn't get the win, but let's stay on the track of rookie quarterbacks. I'm just going to give it to Jayden Daniels. I mean, and watching the game, it was really kind of frustrating. Although we had a lead the entire game, right? Like there was never a point where I was like, crap, here we go. I was pretty confident that the Bucs were going to get out with the W yesterday, especially with the way that offense was clicking. But if you look at that, if you look at the defense, it was so frustrating. It's like, hey, he's going to run the ball. Like, he's going to hold it for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then this guy is just going to run. He didn't want to wait I didn't feel like he was going through his progressions very well. He was very early to run, but at the end of the day, he didn't turn the ball over. I understand that they lost, but he did have 16 carries for 88 yards on top of the 184 passing yards. No touchdowns through the air, but 2 touchdowns on the ground. And I don't know. I liked what I saw from his play. I think that he can be a guy who, can be a good quarterback in this league. It's going to take some time. He just needs to slow down, though, just a little bit. Like, hey, man, like, trust your offensive line just a little bit. Trust your receivers a little bit. You gotta throw the ball down the field. You can't just run down this is not LSU. This is not college football. And they talked about that yesterday. Hey, this isn't college football. These guys on that defensive line are running the same speeds as some linebackers and safeties that you were seeing in college. So it's not the same game at all. But I'm gonna give the W to Jayden Daniels. It's funny, you gave the W to Bo Nix. They lost the game. I gave the W to Jayden Daniels. They lost the game. Caleb Williams won. The Chicago Bears are 1-0, and we're like, man.
The one thing with Jayden, though, he is fast. He when he was moving, but I thought the Bucs had a great game plan. They took the deep ball away and like, hey, if you're going to beat us, I mean, over like 102, 103 yards came from the running back, so he was just dumping it off. But he's just, like you said, what's crazy is his receivers in college were better than what he has in the pros. So he had Brian Thomas Jr., he had Justin, like, he's just like, I'm going to go back to college. My receivers were better then than what I have now. So he's struggling.
Yeah, man, because Scary Terry didn't do anything yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think, as much as I want to believe in Scary Terry, maybe it's just he just hasn't had the quarterback. But other than that, they don't have anything else that, kind of like you're worried about. It's Scary Terry and the other guy.
And to think that they could have had Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
There was a rumor. There was definitely a rumor. So, but that does it for our week 1 recap. Carlos, we are in full NFL mode right now. I know that the 49ers and the New York Jets are playing right now 12-7. So, I mean, but hey, you know what? Good news. Aaron Rodgers is still playing. So there is
a win. It's a win for the Jets fan.
You know what? Aaron Rodgers gets the win this week as quarterback.
He just went down.
Oh, no. No, I won't jinx that. But we appreciate you guys listening to us. We're going to be here all NFL season, breaking down all of these games. This is going to be our recap. So these Tuesday episodes are going to be the NFL recap games. We'll be touching a little bit on the Monday night games. That's late. That's just a little too late, and we're not quite there yet. But we're going to be recapping all the games, and then our Friday episode, we're going to be looking at the week ahead. So be sure to stay on the lookout for that episode. Do us a favor, follow us on all of our social medias. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Definitely hit that like and that subscribe button. Share this video with your family and friends and all your coworkers. Hey, week 1 is in the books. We hope your team won, and if not, we still have a whole season ahead of us. So pick your head up a little bit. And you know what? Hit those waiver wires just in case if, you had some injuries this past week, which we didn't even get a chance to talk about, but there were. Jordan Love went down with an injury. He might be out for a few weeks. Christian McCaffrey's not playing tonight. So what's going to kind of happen there is the Madden curse has it struck Christian McCaffrey. All fantasy owners are hoping not. EA doesn't need that kind of heat. They've gotten enough over the years. But we definitely appreciate you guys rocking with us. And until Wednesday, you'll guys see us tomorrow. Check us out tomorrow for our college episode tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down all the games of this last Saturday and the games to coming up. But until tomorrow, Beard Zone out.